I think being able to have, like, instead of at most 4 Path Exiles in your deck, now you can play basically 8 of them. It powers up control like a pretty reasonable amount.
Yeah.
But other than that, control gets better. All the decks that are playing Path Exile switch to playing swords.
Yeah.
And the format goes otherwise relatively unchanged.
Yeah. I think if you guys are wondering also why swords would be better than Path, it's just that giving your opponent a land, I always think is just way worse than just having them gain life. Like, because with certain decks, especially if you're a control player, like once you lock up the game control-wise, like...
who cares about that?
Yeah.
You'll kill them eventually. It doesn't matter how long it takes.
Right, for life.
But if you give them the chance to cast like 2 spells in a turn, and you maybe can only answer 1, like suddenly you're like out of the game again.
Yeah, like giving them mana like just gets them ahead. You're like ramping them and shit. All right, let's see here. So we got Josh Riley on Humans against Corey Kuhlman on Hardened Scales. So we're gonna see Hardened Scales again, and then Humans. You guys know, most of you guys in chat know this. We saw this one last week. Humans is a deck that, for the most part, is pretty stock, but it has usually 3 flex spots that we'll see a variation between Thalia, the big Thalia Heretic Cathar, or we'll see Militia Bugler, or we'll see possibly Tajik now.
Yeah, Tajik is a nice, interesting addition to that slot. I haven't seen a lot of people catching on to it, but I do like the card in that spot a lot.
Very cool. Wow, now this would be a pretty quick start for then the Hardened Scales deck, right?
Yeah, this is a much faster start than I think I've seen in a long time.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what he's got in his hand. If he's got an Arcbound Ravager, I think he just wins right now.
Okay. So Josh, he did a turn 1 Aether Vial, probably the best thing you could do in Humans on turn 1. He's going to hardcast a Meddling Mage. This is a card he gets to name any card he wants, and then that card cannot be cast. So usually they will name a removal, some form of removal from their opponent, which just now, you heard Josh name Walking Ballista. So that's Hardened Scales.
That's their premier form of removal.
Okay.
They're not really playing anything other than Dismember in the way of removal.
Okay.
But Walking Ballista's ability to remove a +1/+1 counter to deal 1 damage to anything allows it to just shoot down a bunch of guys at once.
Yep. It will, and if he didn't name that, then and Corey did have it in hand, then he'd just be able to kill the Meddling Mage right away.
Yeah,
right?
And just unlock whatever card he tried to name.
Mm-hmm. All right, so he's Corey just casted that casted the Hangerback Walker, and again, because the 2 Hardened Scales are on board, that entered with 3 counters on it instead of just 1. What do you think's favored here now in this position in the board state?
In this position, Hardened Scales is certainly favored.
Okay.
But Josh actually is up quite a bit on cards and is not nearly as behind as it would appear to be.
Okay.
So he just might be able to actually just play a card every turn that matters.
Well, here we go with the Manus Rider.
Yeah, Manus Rider's huge here.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to probably... there you go. So he vials in the image to create 2 Manus Riders. These are Flying Vigilance 3/3s and Haste. So that's pretty good against Corey, right?
Yeah, that's very good right now.
Corey doesn't have to... without being able to cast Walking Ballista, does he have any way to stop these flyers?
He can block with the Inkmoth Nexus, and he can try to find a way to kill his Hangerback Walker to make Thopters.
Okay.
But that's the only way he's going to handle these flyers right now.
Okay. All right, so Corey probably trying to decide now, like, what if he wants to...
Wow.
3rd Hardened Scales. How do you feel about that?
It's a little late to the party, but it's still going to do work.
Okay.
Pretty much every card he draws is big game still.
So Josh, notably here, he did keep his Vial at 2, so he is attacking. We might see some shenanigans here with the Vial. Humans does have the ability to vial in a Thali's Lieutenant to put counters on Oh, here we have a Mayor of Avonbrook. This card is still pretty spicy here for humans. This is a human lord that when the deck was first getting made, a lot of people were jamming it in the deck, and then we saw it just kind of go away for pretty much until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. People started playing it again.
Yeah.
What do you like this Mayor of Avonbrook?
Mayor of Avonbrook's really good because of the ability to lord everything, obviously, but then the secondary ability where sometimes it just flips and is bigger than anything else on the board.
Very cool. Yeah, so this is a flip werewolf creature, guys, and when it does flip, it's a human advisor werewolf, and when it does flip, it creates a werewolf. That's like a 3/3, I believe, or 4/4
it's a 2/2, I believe, and then the Avonbrook lords it to make it a 3/3, if I'm correct.
Very cool. And then it could flip back to a human as well.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Since he vialed it in, he didn't cast any spells that turn.
Yeah.
So he just gets to flip it for free immediately.
Now, do you like it flipped better in this situation, or would you rather have him having a buff?
This is an interesting situation. It makes it so that way Corey has to really think about, does he want to cast his spells? Because if he casts 2 spells here, he just flips it right back.
What is going on here with this token?
They only have one kind of dice, and he's trying to represent a -1/-1 counter.
Okay.
Trying not to get it confusing.
All right. Okay, so Josh was able to put in enough damage there.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Oh, it's Corey's letting him know that he had that in his opening hand, so it was a great meddling mage call by Josh.
That hurts. That hurts to see.
All right, let's go over these sideboards. I'll name off the sideboards, and Jacob here could tell us what he thinks of them. So Corey, with Hardened Scales, running 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Shaper's Sanctuary, which I'm not sure what that card is, 2 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Dismember, 2 Karn Sign of Urza, 3 Dampening Sphere, 4 Nature's Claim. All right, do you know what the Shaper's Sanctuary is?
Shaper's Sanctuary is a 1-mana enchantment out of Ixalan.
Okay.
It's a single green, and it says whenever a creature you control would become the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card.
Sweet. Okay.
So just every time something gets targeted, you get to draw another card.
Cool. So we're not going to probably see that then.
No, I don't think that's very good in this matchup.
All right, so what do you think? Is he going to bring anything in here?
I'm actually not too sure. I think Dismember could come in, but Dismember is not too good at beating out a clock. It's better at fighting off utility creatures, like getting rid of cards like Meddling Mage, cards like Kitesail Freebooter, that are going to lock up the cards Corey needs to win.
Yeah, I think I like the Dismember, because obviously we saw last game here, he couldn't beat that Meddling Mage, so hopefully he's able to have a little bit more removal, different angles here. And then let's look at Josh's sideboard here. He's got 2 Izzet Staticaster, 2 Sin Collector, 2 Tormod's Crypts, 2 Auriok Champions, 2 Plague Crafters, which is a newer human card, which is sweet, 2 Night of Autumns, 1 Dismember, and then 2 Gaddock Teagues. So what do you think? So on the bottom here,
I think I like Night of Autumn in this matchup quite a bit. Night of Autumn is a really big game at gaining life to beat out a clock, destroying artifacts to blow up key pieces, and it also hits enchantments, which hits Hardened Scales. Sweet. So it kind of blows them up completely on all of these setup cards.
Okay, now how do you feel about the Izzet Staticaster? Is that kind of a miss here?
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be like a pretty big miss, especially if there's a Hardened Scales out. Everything's going to grow past where we need it to be. So it's just not going to really be effective at all.
Okay, and then for the Gaddock Teague, I think that's a mistake to bring in, right?
Yeah, that one would be a pretty big mistake.
Explain why?
It cuts off non-creature X spells and non-creature spells that cost 4 or more,
so I
which
think
basically none of.
Yeah, a lot of people would think because Hardened Scales runs a bunch of X spells, but it's because it's non-creature.
Yeah. The other card I think I kind of want to see here is Auriok Champion. Actually looks kind of good here.
Okay.
The ability to gain life every time a creature enters the battlefield is going to be really annoying, especially if we see an animation module, because he's just going to try to make servos to block all the time, and every single time one of them comes down, it's gaining life.
Oh, okay, cool.
And suddenly Corey can only win with Infect.
Nice. Also, just a cool card there in Josh's sideboard is the Plague Crafter. that card, I'm a Humans player as well, so I think that's pretty sweet. That's a newer card from
Guilds of
Ravnica, and when it comes into play, it makes both yourself and your opponent have to sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker. So I think it's kind of spicy against like control decks, maybe like against like blue-white control.
The other interesting part is if they can't, they have to discard a card instead.
Ah, okay.
So it's never truly a miss, and against control, you just get to blow up a Teferi or a Jace.
Sweet.
And if they miss, they're just discarding a card, which is also super good against control.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the problems that Humans had against control was if blue-white had like a Teferi on board and you can't pretty much deal direct damage to it, you're just kind of like out of luck, whereas in this lets you kind of get back in the game because you could just drop the Teferi and then try and get one of your hasty creatures back out on board.
Yep.
So we got game 2 about ready to start. I'm assuming Corey's going to be on the play here.
Looks like he's mulliganing because Josh already has his opening hand drawn.
All right. Yeah, not too good when you're down a game to have to mulligan, but see he's going to keep.
All right. Corey's scrying here, looking to find some more action on top. Hardened Scales is going to be really good here, and especially alongside the Ancient Stirrings I see in his hand. And he's got an Arcbound Ravager, so he's going to be able to keep things moving the whole time. Noble Hierarch off of a Cavern of Souls naming Humans. Pretty classic start for Humans to go with. And Corey's going to Ancient Stirrings. So Ancient Stirrings is going to be the best dig spell he has here. It's going to allow him to grab any of his good cards for this matchup. Animation Module, chief among them. Animation Module's ability to make jump blockers, give counters to guys. It's just so versatile, especially in a matchup where you do need to be blowing things up. Knight of Autumn is huge here. Josh having Knight of Autumn basically just blows this matchup open. Corey has a lot of artifacts here, but he doesn't have a lot of business without Hardened Scales. Ravager is good and all, but without the Hardened Scales to allow him to keep drawing a bunch of cards or adding a bunch of extra counters, it's looking pretty weak here. So Josh has just Knight of Autumned a Hardened Scales.
Nice.
The turn before Corey managed to land Arcbound Ravager.
Okay, very cool. All right, let's see what Josh got up his sleeve here. Oh, so he's going to be able to get 2 Exalted triggers here with this Mana Strider. Swinging in the air for 5, putting the pressure on Corey.
That's a really big clock.
Yeah, if Corey's not able to figure out a way to deal with this Mana Strider, he's going to be dead in 3 more turns here. So maybe quicker because, Humans does have the ability to put a bunch of counters on all their stuff and also pull out some more Mana Striders here.
I see grabbing a Walking Ballista off of Ancient Stirrings. That's probably going to be the card that gives him a chance in this matchup.
Okay.
He can sacrifice everything to Arcbound Ravager and then sacrifice Arcbound Ravager to itself to put all the counters on Walking Ballista. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be sort of a board wipe just sitting there ready for him to activate it at any moment.
So he's going to want to do that in response to maybe Josh casting another human?
Yeah, in response to casting another human, or maybe in response to Athalia's Lieutenant enters the battlefield trigger.
Nice. Josh just cycling pretty much cycling a Horizon Canopy here. This is a card. Can we get chat back up and screen for really quick? This is a card that one of the key lands for Humans that just, if they kind of get land flooded, they're able to sacrifice it and draw a card.
I hear him saying Knight of Autumn targeting Welding Jar.
Yeah.
Oh, changing the target. He wants to target Animation Module. Either way, Animation Module is going to be gone, really.
And then he's swinging back in with this Mantis Rider here with the Exalted triggers. So how about this? Notable here. If he swings and doesn't name these Exalted triggers, what happens?
Technically, in Magic rules, you don't have to acknowledge the triggers until they become relevant.
Okay.
So if he goes to deal damage, he has to mention them right away. If he goes to hit Corey, he has to mention them before he talks about how much damage he's dealing.
Okay, so if he doesn't mention his Exalted triggers, and then they go to damage, and then he decides to say, oh, this is 5, what's going to happen normally in like a competitive event?
In a competitive environment, he'll have missed the triggers.
Okay.
Technically, Corey would then get the option to choose if they go on the stack at that point.
Okay.
But it would be after damage.
Okay.
So he'd just have a 5/5 post-combat, which is pretty mediocre.
Okay. So I mean, the Exalted triggers are actually something that's important part of humans as well. We see that being now just the Mantis Rider as a beatdown here. Oh, he's copying Knight.
Wow. Okay, he's just gonna try to blow everything up now.
Also, just to note here, these phantasmal images, if it gets targeted at all, it has to sacrifice itself. So, in chat, we have a question. What's the difference between Panza and Gruul N?
Gruul LD. The biggest difference as a Panza player, the way I like to think of it is Panza is really it's a deck trying to create a mana advantage. LD is all about keeping your opponent off of their resources, but Panza is less about keeping your opponent off of their resources and more about having such a huge advantage that you're casting 6 mana spells while they cast 2 mana spells.
Okay.
LD would be more you have 13 land destruction spells and you just keep going until they have nothing.
Yeah, those are not fun to play against. All right, so he blew up a bunch of his humans here, and now Corey is left with 2 counters on his Walking Ballista. He was moving around with one of his Arcbound Ravagers, and he's still got 1 on board.
Oh, that was interesting. So he was responding to Phantasmal Image there before he could copy Night of Autumn.
Very cool.
So he got rid of the Night of Autumns, so it can't enter as a copy of them.
That's awesome. So that took away all the advantage of Image, because then, if Image came in as a Knight, he'd be able to get instant value out of it, where now he's got to bring it in as probably a Mantis Rider, and it's going to be killed before he can do any damage, right? All right, guys, again, in chat, we've got a couple questions already, but keep asking them away, guys. We definitely like answering some of your guys' questions while the games are going on, if we have any downtime here. So just keep asking away any cool, fun questions about Modern, just anything in general. This is our second week streaming, just so you guys know. Last week was our first week. We had a pretty fun time, and so yeah.
All right, responds to the Exalted triggers to blow up Mantis Rider.
Very cool.
But he has to attack with it alone because otherwise Exalted never triggers.
Okay. And now is he worried about... I'm assuming the image is a copy of a Mantis Rider?
I think so. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It could have been a copy of Noble Hierarch to get more Exalted triggers.
Yeah, and maybe just also to keep it kind of a less of a target for one of Corey's counters. Like if he makes it a Mantis Rider, it's just instantly Corey has to eliminate it. Whereas if he makes it a Noble, maybe it has a chance of just sticking around for some value.
Yeah, I see him stacking it with the Nobles now, so I'm guessing that's what it is.
Okay.
And that means that it is there to pump all of his future threats and not just Mantis Rider.
Okay. All right, guys, cast in another Hardened Scales, that's his first one on board here, but we know what that does. And now a Walking Ballista coming in for 2. So what's a threat here from Josh? Obviously, just he's got the champion with the Exalted triggers being his threat right now.
Yeah, that's his primary threat in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a lot of cards he can draw that will become threats very quickly.
Okay.
Obviously, if he finds another champion, that's going to be another threat very quickly.
Yeah.
Another Mantis Rider will be a threat extremely quickly. He's also looking to draw any other cards he might have sideboarded in.
Yeah, it looks like
those are going to be big answers.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like he's got a Kite Sail Freebooter and a Meddling Mage in hand, which are those relevant right now for him, you think?
Meddling Mage can be relevant because he can, make it so Corey can't cast another spell that could be very important to him. Okay. He could name, say, Arcbound Ravager here and make it so that neither of those Walking Ballistas can get bigger than they already are. Okay. But Kite Sail Freebooter, it looks like Corey's empty-handed.
Now, what was why do you think Josh didn't drop one of his creatures here to try and get a counter on Champion?
I think that might be just trying to get Josh to do something. Josh just wants Corey to do something before he makes his move.
Yeah, in chat, Carl was Ray. Yeah, this is GameStorm in Lamont, Illinois. You guys could jump on our Facebook. It's just GameStorm Gaming.
GameStorm Gaming.
Yeah, GameStorm Gaming. Check out the Facebook. With no traffic, we're about 20-25 minutes out of Chicago. With traffic, obviously, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we are in the west suburbs of Chicago. So Modern every Sunday night, and then Wednesday nights we have Standard, and Friday nights we have all three formats of Standard, Modern, and Draft. All right, so they're in a little bit of stall out here.
He's casting Meddling Mage now. I see now under the Meddling Mage that he cast earlier, he named Arcbound Ravager. He's got one of Corey's Arcbound Ravagers that he played earlier hiding under it to represent that. I don't know what card you're supposed to name here. This is like a really weird decision.
Yeah, because we already know that he's used some of his Walking Ballistas, right? So he's not going to get a whole lot of value out of naming that, right? So then he's probably thinking if there's another possible removal threat or one of his engines to kind of go off. Kind of hard to see what he wrote there. Looks like it says Dismember.
Yeah, Dismember sounds like a card that would be pretty worth naming here. It's probably one of Corey's only outs to beating that champion right now.
Okay. All right, so we got a Reflector Mage here. Humans' kind of method of creature removal in a sense for them. This is going to come in, be able to bounce one of Corey's creatures. Then Corey won't be able to cast it for a turn. Responding here to the trigger of the Reflector Mage. So he's making a servo here.
And he put 4 counters on that. So he's now going to be able to shoot down that champion before it gets bigger.
Yep, and you were absolutely correct. He's taking it out right now. Also in chat, Carl says, used to hang out there. Cool to see you guys getting on Twitch. Thanks, man. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it too. And maybe you'll come back out here for one of the Sunday night games. So Sir Tailweaver, no, it was banned in Standard, which has kind of a controversial ban also. But no, Reflector Mage is not banned in Modern. Very cool card. Definitely the best mana war style card that's been printed in Magic for sure. All right, so he did it successfully then, kind of get that Reflector Mage on board. He lost the champion in the process. Get a chump block from Corey. I think Josh is sitting in a pretty powerful position here. Corey needs to make something happen right now.
Yeah, I think the card that Corey's looking for is another Walking Ballista.
Okay.
That's probably the only card he has that's relevant right now.
Well, what would he be able to get then? He'd be able to get
he can play it for X's 2, which would be 3 counters.
Okay.
And then he can use it to block and shoot something else.
All right.
But even then, it's still not super impressive.
Okay. If Josh wins this one, do me a favor when you interview him and ask him about that Plague Crafter.
Oh, yeah, I will.
All right. So Josh now probably wondering why Corey just passed the turn to him when he's sitting there with 10 damage on board. see a Corey just waiting to just make him attack. I don't even know what possibly he could even have in hand that could. Oh, walking ballista. So nothing. Not really sure. He can't flash it in, right?
No, I think this is game over now. I heard him say 2 is not 0. Just like go through the motions, finish this out.
Okay, he's sacrificing the Mox Opal to gain a life.
Phyrexia's Core, one of the weird utility lands Hardened Scales plays.
Did we have life totals wrong on this on the screen?
I didn't think so, but
did you guys want to check the life totals? We're gonna try and get Dan to run in there and halt the game really quick, guys, because we were tracking 2 life for Corey, but apparently they passed the turn here with.
Okay, so it looks like we must have.
All right, so I guess we must have had it wrong here on our side then. So Corey does have another turn here. So now, can Corey pull out of this?
I don't think he's going to be able to pull out of this. If Josh were to attack with everything, Corey would be forced to block, try to kill something, and still take 3 in the end.
Okay. Chad, get your questions ready too for when Josh gets up here. If you guys got some questions, just to help out, be able to get them talking about their deck a little bit. Kind of get some anything you guys wondering about humans or how to face humans, or if he has anything in general that he likes about it.
Oh, I forgot. He gets a servo here. So he does get to live at least one more turn.
Okay. Why did he get the servo on that one?
He paid for 1 on animation module when Walking Ballista entered the battlefield.
Cool. Animation module just kind of sits there as this like weird like engine that doesn't seem that powerful, but it's like ending up like allowing him to kind of go into the later game. It seems like, huh?
It does a lot of different things. Okay. Is what it really boils down to. It has the like second mode everyone forgets about, which is that you can pay 3 and tap it to put a counter on something.
Yeah,
which is just cool. Very powerful in this deck. But it also just every time something gets a counter, you can make a servo. So you can make just like gum up the board super wide and make it impossible for anyone to get through.
Josh just deciding now whether or not he wants to just swing all out, right?
Yeah. I hear him talking out loud to Corey about how do you even win?
Yeah. So he would be able to make he has no mana available to activate the module then right now?
No, he does not right now.
And then so all he could really do then is block, double block, and then kill the image with one of the counters, and then double kill a 2-drop, one of the 2 toughness creatures, chump block with the token. So he'd still be taking a minimum of, looks like a minimum of 3 still.
If he blocks with the Walking Ballista before he does all of that, then one of the creatures isn't going to get through because
that's true. Yeah. So he would do a minimum of the most he could do if all blocked out and would be 1 damage. It looks like.
Yeah. Oh, he's just attacking like that.
Yeah, I guess he just wanted the. What do you think about that? It was bad, you think?
I'm not so sure about that. I heard him trying to talk it through out loud. He wanted to try to find a way to guarantee that Walking Ballista leaves the battlefield. Yeah. Because now it can start to grow.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, he should have probably tried to force Corey into an awkward situation of having to make.
Yeah, I think he was worried about losing his whole board there, but I think he gets to keep a creature, at least 1 creature, and if Corey's got no board, 1 card in hand, and no creatures, it's Josh still has the game.
Yeah, now Josh is actually in an awkward spot for himself where he probably will lose most of his board here with an activation of the module, right?
Yeah. Now it's looking like Corey might be able to actually scrape his way back into this game.
Nice. All right, so Josh just trying to probably figure out, like, if he needs to cast a creature again, if he wants to swing out. He's probably feeling a little bit in trouble here. Also, another thing worth noting is if he does have, like, an image, he could copy Reflector Mage, try and bounce the Walking Ballista.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards he could have here that do things.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely not drawing, like, blanks only.
Right. So hopefully he makes a decision here quick. Otherwise, we're gonna have to try and. Okay, there we go.
Attack with everything this time. I feel like if you were gonna go for that, you should have gone for it last turn.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh.
Yeah. Now
Josh is feeling it, I'm sure. So Corey now just figuring out where he wants to place these damage from the Walking Ballista, hit his counters here. Man, I thought Josh had it all locked up. I was already talking about
I thought so too.
You interviewing him after this, and now it looks like we're probably going to end up going to a game 3 maybe. I don't know.
He chump blocked, killed both of the meddling mages, and took one in the air. So now he's pretty clearly like in a favorable position.
Yeah, he's going to be able to just be putting more counters on this Walking Ballista. Probably going to force Josh to have to scoop here after this turn, I'm assuming. At any given time he wants, he could just knock that image out with a single.
Yeah.
With a single.
It being on Noble Hierarch isn't particularly threatening, though.
Yeah, I think actually that's when we talked about earlier is actually pretty smart of Josh. He
realized that wouldn't be threatening, so he could let it sit there.
Now, I wonder if Corey is thinking about possibly attacking here.
He can go for it if he can put counters on it, then attack, and still have enough counters on it to be able to kill all of his creatures. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't want to risk it.
Yeah, he could, because then he would have still had an available man land for block if he really needed to block just a single creature. I don't know. Probably doesn't want to risk it too much. He feels like he's in a pretty controlling state here.
Yeah, well, I think the real concern there is that if he just top decks Mantis Rider, he suddenly is just dead.
Fine again, yeah. So Josh is, I guess he's just Mantis Rider is probably his best card here in this situation, I'm assuming.
I think if he didn't top deck Mantis Rider here, Corey's going to be able to grow Walking Ballista enough to be able to manage the board no matter what happens now.
Yeah. Not really sure why he's taking too long. I think he should figure he's either got to attack all out or he's going to probably be losing the next turn here anyways. So if for some reason he did force a double attack here, or he's going to just probably do single just to get the Exalted triggers, huh?
Yeah. And I think Corey's just going to respond to the Exalted triggers to get maximum value out of this. Yeah. Puts it up to 7, makes a servo.
Yeah, I kind of like just blocking with the servo and then just board wiping after attacks. Block with the servo, then he's only going to do a single point or 2 points damage to the Reflector Mage, and then
Exalted's still on the stack though. So if he does it now, he only has to do 3 to Reflector Mage.
Okay.
But if he blocks after 2 Exalted triggers, he'll actually have to do 4.
Okay, now with the Exalted triggers, if he was to deal, let's say, 3 damage to the Reflector Mage, at the end of the turn, the Exalted triggers are going to fade out before the turn ends, and then the Reflector Mage would die?
Damage leaves at the same time that the turn ends, so they're actually just going to go away at the same time.
Okay, that's definitely worth noting then. All right, guys, Corey here, pretty much looking good. Now I wouldn't mind seeing an attack from Corey. Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think attacking actually looks pretty safe here. Right now, he can put counters on it. It'll go up to 3 counters, or go up 3 counters to 7. And then if he were to play, say, a Mantis Rider, he's going to be able to deal 5 and still have a live Walking Ballista to kill everything on board.
All right, so Corey just sitting with 1 card in hand. Josh still with, I think, 3 or 4 after the draw here. He's going to have 3 or 4. I think Josh needs to kind of, I think he either needs to look to speed this up because he's not in a good position, and the round time is getting close for him, so for Game 3.
These decks are both relatively quick. This game is sort of an anomaly right now.
Sir Tailweaver, we were talking about that. I guess his best outs are just to try and get like hasty creatures out, force Corey to like just have to continue to remove stuff. But every single turn, Corey's getting to
put 3 more counters.
Yeah, put 3 more counters on the Walking Ballista. So he's basically always matching like Josh's best card, which is a Mantis Rider here.
I don't think there's a single card in Josh's deck that will allow him to draw multiple cards. And
unless a Bugler, but I'm not sure if he's running Bugler.
Yeah, Bugler's a card not everyone's on, so it's hard to say. He could also be on maybe no, that's normally a sideboard card. I was going to say Kessig Malcontents.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kessig Malcontents would be phenomenal. That's one of the flex cards, guys. That's one of the other options when we talked about the 3 flex spots in humans. That's one of the options you could play as a Kessig Malcontent, and it comes in. It's a 3/2 creature, 1 red, 2 colorless mana, and when it comes into play, it deals damage to your opponent equal to the amount of humans you have on board. All right, Corey, I think is pretty much
I think this game is wrapped up. I think this game's actually over now.
Yeah, I don't know why Josh doesn't want to just kind of get into the next game here and be on the play and try and finish him off. Corey just pretty much controlling the board here. Don't really see anything that Josh could do here. All right, Corey wanting to respond to the before damage. Looks like he's actually going for the kill here.
Yeah, he can put he can move all of these counters to Walking Ballista, deal combat damage, and then afterwards remove a bunch of counters.
Yeah, he's got it. So no blocks. So he's just gonna kill him right here. Get on to the 3rd game. Let's go. All right. Also, just a note again, guys. He was sacking those lands because those are artifact lands too. So.
Jeez.
All right. Finally going to Game 3 here. A miserable drain of soul on Josh, but
I heard Josh the turn after. I think he should have attacked with everything when he went to do it a turn late.
Yeah,
he was sort of kicking himself.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's a pretty big punt.
Yeah.
When you think about it in retrospect, I think I just not sure what he was trying to play around there by going for it with just 1.
Yeah, so if he would have attacked with everything, he would have at least still been in the game. It would have been more of like a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
Whereas in like when he didn't, he just kind of gave up the whole entire board state, gave Corey the upper hand there.
Yeah, Walking Ballista's ability to just be an army in a can.
Yeah.
It just shoots everything down, is the kill condition on its own.
Yeah.
It does everything by itself. So when you just let it live a turn longer than it needed to, it just takes over the entire game.
Yeah, Walking Ballista, another one for any of our players in chat that play the older formats that's been super dominant in the older formats now as well. So it's like in Vintage, people just combo off and put it all into Walking Ballista and kill you really quick.
It's basically just been heralded as the ultimate finisher for like a ton of decks across all formats.
Yeah, pretty sweet. All right, so going into a Game 3 here. All right, so Josh is going to be on the play. Probably wanting to get a quick, fast start here. He's got a Vial, and he also got a Champion of Perish in hand, so Now, here's something I'm seeing that he has. Is it Staticaster in hand? That was one of the cards that we talked about we thought was a miss to sideboard here, right?
Yeah, I think that's like sort of a trap card.
Okay.
When you bring it in, it like feels really good on paper. You think about it and you're like, oh, wow, I'll be able to hit all of his servos. Mm-hmm. But beyond the servos, it does nothing.
Now, do you think that, like, being on the play, that maybe he's got a better shot of using it to, like, a turn, if Corey turn 2 plays, like, 2 servos or 2, like, arcbound workers or something like that?
Yeah, I think the ability to blow your opponent out when you're on the play is just so high that perhaps he thought that he could bring it in and have a really good shot.
There it is, yeah. So he's gonna have to sack this welding jar to protect that hangerback walker. So I guess he did get a good little use out of it. We'll see if it pays off for him. Wow.
Oh, he's copying Staticaster.
Wow.
Staticaster, I didn't think it's that good, but when you're dealing 2 to all of the same creatures,
yeah,
suddenly it doesn't matter how many counters they have.
Wow, this is spotlighting the just direct power of an image here.
Yeah, Phantasmal Image is sort like really the linchpin card for humans now.
Yeah.
For a while, I saw a lot of humans lists on 2, maybe 1 Phantasmal Image. Mm-hmm. Recently, they've been stepping it up, and this is why. Because it turns all of your best cards into 8-ofs.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just also, like, it lets you just, like, maybe put a 1-of in your sideboard that could turn into a 5.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. All right, so now Corey then is going to be pretty behind. He doesn't have any hardened scales out. And he's going to be he's pretty behind here. I'm sure he's wondering what he's going to do, because anything he puts out now is just going to get hit by these Staticasters.
Walking Ballista for 1. Oh, no. He's going to activate Ruins of Oran-Reef to give it another counter.
Ooh, okay.
I think he's... Oh, wow. I think he's just going to try and get rid of Phantasmal Image with it.
Sweet. I like it.
Yeah. He gets rid of the Phantasmal Image, but now it dies to Staticaster.
Yep. Yeah, I think just getting that, if he didn't get that image,
everything was going to die.
He was just done for. Now at least he's got a shot of getting back in the game. It was a nice play by Corey. Corey representing his tokens with little baby cartoons. All right, we got a question here in chat. Liliana Bender at GameStorm. Do you have any experience with 8-rack and thoughts on the deck? I played 8-rack 4 years ago, 5 years ago. What I found, I wasn't like super competitive with it. It was more of just like a kind of a mess around deck for me. It really you need to kind of play the more expensive version of it for it to be any good, which runs Liliana's and the bridges. If you don't have the bridges and the Liliana's, it's really tough. Like for anybody that doesn't know what the deck does, it basically tries to hand disrupt and discard your opponent while getting enchantments on the board that deal your opponent damage for not having enough cards in hand.
Yeah. You're trying to take all of the cards out of your opponent's hand and then punish them for letting you do it to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I think it's a sweet deck, by the way. Don't let me get you to think that I don't like the deck. I think the deck is really cool. I just don't know if it's I don't know if it's competitive enough really to see a lot of like current modern play.
I lost to it in a PPTQ about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Here at GameStorm. I think the deck actually lines up pretty favorably against a lot of the combo decks in the format.
Okay.
Obviously not as much for the graveyard-based combo decks, but any of the decks like KCI that are trying to go off through getting cards onto the board, it's very hard for them to keep playing when suddenly their hand size keeps going down without them trying to get it there.
Yeah. Just real quick, catch up on what's going on the board state. Josh has a bunch of creatures on board, swinging, probably going to kill this Karn, it looks like. And Corey's still in a lot of trouble. I don't know what Corey can do here to really pull anything out. it looks like this game's probably going to be
Ancient Stirrings, trying to find some action here.
Yep. Also, doesn't the 8-rack deck run like a Raven's Crime as well?
Yeah, Raven's Crime is one of the sweet cards you get to play in that deck because just pitching all of your extra lands to make them discard cards is super powerful.
So what does Raven's Crime? What does it do for the most
Raven's Crime is a single black sorcery that says target player discards a card and has retrace, which means you can cast it from your graveyard with the additional cost of discard a land.
Yeah.
And so that's just you play like Thoughtseize and Inquisitions to try and targeted get rid of the relevant cards in someone's hand.
Yeah.
But when you need to finish off their hand, so that way your cards actually start dealing damage to them, Raven's Crime allows you to just pay like 5 mana and wipe out every card in their hand.
Oh, so Josh here just Corey played 2 Arcbound Ravengers. Josh just went to go hit it with a Staticaster, and then Corey sacrificed one of the Ravengers, and I think something else to put 3. I'm not sure what happened there so he sacked his Ravager to place the counters on the other
If he sacks the Ravager to the other Ravager, it gets the counter from sacrificing an artifact and it gets the counter from modular.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome.
Corey being at 1, Hardened Scale's a little late.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see when last turn we played the 2 Ravagers.
Yeah.
So for Lillian Bender in chat, I think that I think ARAC's a sweet idea, but I don't know. Is that something that you've been playing? Do you have any? Have you been running any tournaments or just at home in kitchen table style or what?
Oh, geez, this is rough. Corey has lethal on board.
Okay.
But Mantis Rider able to block Inkmoth Nexus. He could suit up and infect him for 10, but Mantis Rider able to block in the air.
Josh is swinging out, right? Just putting Corey to have to do something here. Is this it? Does Corey have anything he could do?
I don't see anything that he can do really. He can gain 1 life off for Phyrexia's Core, go up to 2, but he still takes just a ton of damage still.
So that's it. Corey, go ahead and he's gonna concede there to the all-out attack. I think the matchup between them is a little bit slow and grindy, but it is definitely a close